Good morning, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Ashton here. I hope you're having a great day at your house. We're having lots of fun, and I thought you might like to listen to another story. Today's story is called Miss Smith's Incredible Storybook by Garland, and it's all about reading and using your imagination. Let's get started. It was the first day of school. Zach was waiting for his teacher to arrive. Boring, boring, he thought. Why would this year be any different from the last one? Then the door swung open. Good morning, class. My name is Miss Smith, and I am your new teacher. Look at the picture of Miss Smith. What kind of a teacher do you think she's going to be? Miss Smith seemed very different from Zach's other teachers. But the day went along like every school day Zach could remember until Miss Smith said, "It's story time." When she sat at her desk and started to read from the book she had brought with her, Zach couldn't believe his eyes. What do you think was happening, boys and girls? What made this storybook so special? The storybook characters came to life, and the classroom was swept up into a swashbuckling pirate tale. Zach and the rest of the class were right in the middle of the story. He could feel the breeze in his hair and hear the waves pounding on the side of the ship. From then on, Zach couldn't wait to go to school. Every day, there was a new story to look forward to. When Miss Smith finished reading, all the characters and adventure swooshed back into her book. Boys and girls, think for a minute. If I could read you a story where the characters came alive, which story would you pick? On Friday, Principal Written Rotten stood in front of the class instead of Miss Smith. "Miss Smith is stuck in traffic, so she has asked me to read to you until she arrives," he announced. Zach wondered what would happen next. Principal Written Rotten started to read. Zach grinned when a princess leapt out of the book, followed closely by a fire-breathing dragon and a brave knight on his horse. Boys and girls, let's stop and make a prediction. What do you think might happen now the principal is reading the story instead of Miss Smith? Principal Written Rotten was so surprised that all he could do was scream and throw the book up in fright. "I'm going for help," he called over his shoulder as he ran out the door. But before Zach could think of anything to do, Sue Ann pounced on the storybook. But she didn't finish the dragon story. She started reading another one instead. Uh-oh. The princess, the dragon, and the knight did not return to the book, but the three bears and Goldilocks climbed out. Freddie, the class clown, jumped out of his seat and tried to yank the book away. When Sue Ann let go, he tumbled backwards and the book flew across the room. The whole class laughed. Billy caught the book and started reading from a new story. Zach shook his head in amazement when the Mad Hatter, the Cheshire Cat, and Alice popped out to join the others. As the book passed from kid to kid, one character after another flew out of the pages. The classroom was getting very crowded. "This is trouble," Zach called to himself. The chaos was beginning to spill out into the halls. "Why didn't you finish the stories?" Zach pleaded, but no one was listening. Boys and girls, what do you think is going to happen next? How are they going to get all those characters back into the book? Let's see if you're right. Miss Smith brought her car to a screeching stop in front of the school. Uh-oh, there seems to be a little problem, she said to herself as she raced inside. Meanwhile, Zach was shouting, "We have to finish the story so the characters will go back into the book." But the storybook characters didn't want to go back, and a tug of war began. Miss Smith appeared in the doorway. With one look, she let everyone know she meant business. Even the dragon was suddenly silent. Zach handed the book to Miss Smith. She ruffled through the pages, adjusted her glasses, and started to read. The class sat spellbound as she finished each story in turn. With a swirl and a whoosh, one character after another disappeared into the book until the classroom was quiet and tidy again. Principal Rittenrotten and a team of firefighters skidded to a halt at the door just as Miss Smith closed the book. "May I help you?" Principal Rittenrotten, said Miss Smith. But the principal couldn't seem to answer. He just stared at the quiet class with his mouth wide open. Miss Smith flashed a secret smile to her class. Zach smiled right back. Who would have ever guessed that reading could be so much fun? And there's our book for today, Miss Smith's Incredible Storybook. Boys and girls, just as we're wrapping up, I want to ask you one last question. Would you like the characters in your stories to come to life? Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.